You can't lay something down if you don't understand why you picked it up. You can't release what you've never taken the time to identify. Finding these things doesn't make you weak. Finding is actually freedom. So, Mama, sit down for a minute, take a breath, relax your shoulders, let the weight drop just for a moment. You've carried so much for so long that putting things down might feel wrong, but it's not wrong. Matthew 11:28 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Jesus didn't say, "Come to me once you've fixed your whole family." He said, "Come, rest." You're not selfish for wanting peace. You're not wrong for setting boundaries. You're not abandoning anyone by taking care of yourself. You are simply learning to carry only what God ever asked you to carry. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Mama Sit Down, a Roxanne Reflects podcast. If you're watching the video version today, I'm looking a little more put together than I usually am, but it's because I just went to church and you know how Sundays are. Sometimes the word hits you just right and you walk out feeling both refreshed and challenged to grow. Today, I want to share something with you all. It's a method I've created called the She Let Go method. It's been in the works for a couple of years, and I feel led to start talking openly about it. When I say creating, I don't mean sitting in a quiet room with a vision board and a cup of tea. Oh, no. This method was created in real life through tears, prayer, frustration, and God pulling me through layer after layer of emotional weight I didn't even know I was carrying. I started noticing patterns, repeated truths, old wounds that were disguised as responsibility, moments where I reacted out of survival rather than peace. So I wrote things down. I prayed over them. I sat with them, and slowly, quietly, it became a framework. And inside that framework is a pillar called Finding Freedom. And today, we're going to focus on the very first step of that pillar, the find step. Because here's the truth. You can't lay something down if you don't understand why you picked it up. You can't release what you've never taken the time to identify. Let me tell you when the find step got real for me. It wasn't during a peaceful moment. It wasn't after some inspirational message. No. It happened after a family dinner that went completely sideways. You ever be in a room full of people you love and somehow still feel unseen, misunderstood, like the tone, the comments, the energy just hits wrong? That was me. I remember sitting at my own house in the middle of everyone, but feeling invisible. And something in my spirit shifted. It wasn't anger. It was hurt, deep hurt, the kind that sits heavy on your chest. And the whole time I was thinking, Lord, how am I this misunderstood in my own family? By the end of the evening, I could feel myself shutting down, not out of spite, but out of protection. Once everyone had left, I continued to think about all that had transpired. However, this time, instead of doing what I always do, fixing, smoothing over, explaining, I grabbed my keys and left. Not running away from my family, running away from the weight, the emotional weight of always being strong, the weight of always being the responsible one, the weight of being the one everybody leans on, but nobody really sees. I drove a while and decided to check into a local hotel. I just didn't want to be at my home. I parked my car, got checked in. I had no luggage, so it was pretty easy. And got to my room. That is when I finally exhaled. And when I tell you the tears came, the tears came. Not angry tears, not dramatic tears, but exhausted tears. The kind that come from years of swallowing things whole and pretending it didn't bother you. And in that quiet moment, God whispered, "Daughter, this isn't all yours to carry." And that's when it hit me. I wasn't crying over just that dinner. I was crying over years of responsibility, pressure, misunderstanding, an emotional weight that had picked up long before I ever reached adulthood. And I realized I didn't even know what I needed to let go of because I'd never stopped long enough to find what I was actually carrying. That moment, sitting alone in that hotel room, was the beginning of the find step for me. The find step is not something I invented. It is deeply, beautifully biblical. Psalm 139, 23 and 24 says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me and lead me in the way everlasting." David wasn't seeking judgment. He was seeking understanding. And then Proverbs 20, verse 5 says, "The purposes of a person's heart are deep waters, but one who has insight draws them out." Your behavior has roots. Your guilt has roots. Your people-pleasing, your over-responsibility. Honey, they all have roots. And Jesus says in John 8:32, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Not hear the truth, not quote the truth, not run from the truth. Know the truth. And you can't know what you refuse to find. So, what does find really mean? It means slowing down long enough to look underneath your reactions and ask, where did this start? Why do I feel responsible for everyone? Why do I feel guilty when I say no? Whose emotions am I carrying? What old role am I still playing? What weight did I pick up as a child that I'm still holding onto as a grown woman? Finding is not about blaming your mama or your daddy. It's not about blaming your past. It's not about blaming even yourself. Finding is about understanding. It's that moment when you say, "Oh, that's where it came from." Because what you cannot identify, you cannot release. Here's something most women don't realize until much later in life. The version of you carrying everyone's weight today, it's not the grown woman sitting here listening to this podcast. She's the little girl inside you who had to be strong way too soon. She's the one who learned, if I don't do it, no one will. She's the one who learned, keeping the peace is my job. She's the one who learned, love is earned through responsibility. Your adult self is exhausted because your childhood self is still running the show. The find step helps you lovingly separate these two. To say to that little girl, "Sweetheart, thank you for surviving, but I don't need you to run everything anymore. I'll take it from here." This week, I want to give you two simple tools. One is a prayer based on Psalm 139. "Lord, show me what I am carrying that never came from you. Reveal the roots so I can release the weight." And two, a journal prompt. Ask yourself, what am I carrying that is not mine to carry? Write it down. Don't filter your answers. Don't judge them. Just write. You might uncover guilt that isn't yours, consequences that belong to your adult children, the role of family mediator, emotional labor you never agreed to, expectations you inherited, not responsibilities God assigned. Finding these things doesn't make you weak. Finding is actually freedom. So, Mama, sit down for a minute, take a breath, relax your shoulders, let the weight drop just for a moment. You've carried so much for so long that putting things down might feel wrong, but it's not wrong. It's really not. Matthew 11:28 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Jesus didn't say, "Come to me once you've fixed your whole family." He said, "Come, rest." You're not selfish for wanting peace. You're not wrong for setting boundaries. You're not abandoning anyone by taking care of yourself. You are simply learning to carry only what God ever asked you to carry. Thank you for listening to Mama Sit Down. If this episode blessed you, share it with another mama who's tired from carrying too much. In future episodes, we'll keep walking through the steps inside the Finding Freedom pillar, each one bringing you closer to clarity, peace, and release. And until then, remember, it's your time now.